Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So y'all let me know that you actually kind of like this more informal style of video, which actually works really well for me right now. I think I've mentioned before that I am trying to study for the certification. It's the beginning of the year, which is a little crazy at work, and then my grandmother passed away, so I'm kind of shoehorning in a quick out-of-town trip. So things have just been really crazy, and doing something that's a little less like maintenance for me would be very, very helpful right now. So I'm really glad that you guys kind of like this more informal style. I'm not going to do a lot of editing on this, and I figure for kind of videos where I'm being a little chattier, this actually is kind of nice. So today anyway, I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I am reading right now. I've actually been doing a lot of reading, all things considered, because I'm really, I think I've mentioned this in sort of my goals for the year. I'm really trying to focus on getting rid of some of my TBR before I need to move, and at least my physical TBR, because I don't want to have to physically move those books. So I've been really focused on that, and it's actually been going really, really well. So I've been getting through a lot of my mass markets. That's sort of been like my focus, and those are just like easier books to get through in general. Like a lot of my mass markets are pretty light. They're not like super weighty affairs, so it's a little easier to get through them. So I've been whipping through those. I've been reading a lot of audiobooks, listening to a lot of audiobooks. And yeah, I've just it's been very productive. I think part of this is because I've been limiting kind of like my screen time. So because I need to be studying for this certification, I do my best studying and like that kind of thing where I'm trying to like force myself to do something in the morning. So to be able to get up early enough to do that, I've been having to make myself go to bed earlier than is my kind of natural inclination, and to be able to fall asleep earlier than I normally would, I've been limiting my screen time. So instead of watching things or like YouTube or whatever, which is probably why I've not been that responsive, and I apologize for that, but instead of being kind of like online or watching TV or whatever during that time, I've been reading even more than I normally would. So I've been getting a lot done. So let's hop into some of the things I've read. It's not necessarily been that great of a reading month so far in terms of like quality, but definitely in terms of quantity. So anyway, a couple of mass markets I've got to. So this is a novella compilation, The Undead in My Bed. And really I got this because there's two of my favorite kind of like more lighthearted paranormal authors in here, which is Molly Harper and Jessica Sims. The Molly Harper one I was not that into, but the Jessica Sims one I thought was really, really cute. And yeah, this was fine. I'm kicking myself because apparently this went on sale for $1.99 in November, and somehow I missed it despite all of my notifications. So I'm gonna buy this at some point when it goes back on sale, because I'm very happy to not have a weird shirtless dude with like lightning stuff around him in my collection anymore. So I read that. I also read When She Said I Do. This was a big disappointment, and it's not my biggest disappointment, so I probably won't talk about it at the end of the month, but it was disappointing because this is a Beauty and the Beast trope, historical, and I am a sucker for a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and this just was not that good. I felt like it was very tonally all over the place, and yeah, like it had very serious subject matter that the author did not sufficiently confront, in my opinion. This has been a theme of this month, actually. So can I just talk about a pet peeve of mine? Authors, if you are going to set up a situation that you as the god of this universe have complete control over, you have to confront the implications of the situations you set up. If you have someone, now granted there was somewhat of a, he thought he was dreaming or whatever, if you essentially have this book start by the hero nearly raping the heroine, you have to confront it. You actually have to deal with that. You can't just put that out there and then expect us to be like, oh, well, whatever, love. I mean, that's just not how things work. And I think I read a couple of books this month, one of which I'll talk about in my wrap up at the end of the month, that I just felt like the authors are not really playing out the situations that they themselves have created. And that is something I kind of demand. I think that's sort of like table stakes for a well-written book. So anyway, this was a disappointment, not that good, and I was sad because I love Beauty and the Beast retellings, and I'm sad that one was just not doing it. Then I have Northern Lights by Nora Roberts. Now, I always love a Nora Roberts. Like, I love her standalone mysteries, and this is one set in Alaska, which I thought was really cool. And I actually I liked the book. It just was about 20% too long. Like, the beginning dragged on too long in my opinion, and then the middle, there's like a little bit in the middle that should have been cut out. But I always enjoy Nora Roberts. If I could have, I would have given this like a 3.5 on Goodreads, but I ended up just bumping it up to a 4. But it was like, yeah, it was, I love these kinds of books, and they're very much like comfort reading for me. So anyway, not one that I think I will buy in ebook form. I didn't like it that much, but it was definitely enjoyable. And then the other Nora Roberts that I read was another one of her standalone thrillers, which was Black Hills, which I thought was a little bit better. It suffered in terms of like my overall enjoyment just because this was a second chance romance, and I don't love those. But I thought the actual mystery component of this was really, really good, and the small town element was really fun. These are like what I would call cozy romantic suspense, if that's a thing. Apparently it is, because that's what I think this is. And it was also set in South Dakota at a wildlife animal refuge, so I thought that was really enjoyable as well. So yeah, I like this one better than Northern Lights, but neither of them are like my favorite Nora Roberts that I've read. And then another Alaska book, another one from Molly Harper, The Art of Seducing a Naked Werewolf. This is probably my favorite thing I've read so far this month, because it was just like light fun. It was very, like, it's a small town. This is what I would call a cozy mystery paranormal. And I just thought it was really fun. It's got a geeky hero, which I'm all about. Fuck the patriarchy. I enjoy having kind of a beta hero. The heroine was the alpha of her pack, which I thought was fun. And I like this particular world that she's created. It's like it's in Alaska. It's like, I don't know, I feel like it's winter time, so apparently I'm just into a lot of Alaska things. But yeah, so far, this is actually the book I've enjoyed the most this month. And then Wanted, Wild Thing by Jessica Sims, another paranormal. And I have a lot of very conflicted feelings about this. I will talk about this at the end of the month, because I think this will probably be in my surprise category. Jessica Sims is just like probably my favorite paranormal author, and I just have such mixed feelings, because I actually did enjoy this book. Like, in terms of like visceral enjoyment, I liked this book a lot. But like, if you take one step back, the implications of this plot are pretty horrifying, and this goes into the rant I will have at some point about, like, if you set up a situation, you have to confront it, and she just doesn't. So, like, I really enjoyed this book, but it's problematic, like, deeply problematic. And then my one DNF so far was Orient by Christopher Bollen. So I read about, I think, like 150-ish pages of this, and I actually also own this in ebook form, so I'm going to go ahead and unhaul this hardback. This is 100% a case of this is me and not the book, because this is a very well written book, and it's actually, I think for what it is, a very good book. It's just that it was sold to me as sort of like an isolated island mystery, so like almost sort of in the vein of And Then There Were None. That was sort of how somebody pitched it to me, and that's just not what this is. This is like a small town. This is really like about like the underbelly of a small town. This actually reminds me a lot in some ways of what's that big long one from J.K. Rowling, The Casual Vacancy. This kind of reminds me of like the Long Island version of that, but like with death. It's good. Like, if you read the back of this, like, read it and know that there's not, like, the mystery is not as strong as I thought it was going to be. But if it sounds appealing to you, I would certainly recommend it. I think the writing is really nice, but just for how long this book is and it just not meeting my expectations, I decided I didn't want to continue with it. So for me, this is like a 1-star on Goodreads, or a 0, a DNF. But I think other people probably really would enjoy this. It just wasn't the right book for me at the right time, if that makes sense. So then, in terms of things that I might get to next, I don't know if I'll actually accomplish this, but I'm gonna try to finish off. I only have 7 mass markets left in my entire collection, with the well, I take that back. There's like 2 or 3 that are only available in mass market, like you can't even get them as ebooks, so those I'm going to be stuck with. But basically, I think I can get rid of mass markets this month from my collection. I'm very excited. So you'll notice that a lot of the reading this month is very, very light, because like my mass markets tend to be pretty light things. In terms of things that I think I'm actually just going to get rid of without reading, both of these Lindsay Sands, so I love Lindsay Sands. She writes like frivolous nonsense. It's just complete lovely brain candy. And these are two of her lesser historicals. Both of these, I was just checking, are available from my library. So I actually think that I'm going to go ahead and pass these along because I can get them from the library. And I also have a bunch of Harlequin rewards points. I could get these for free if I decided that I really wanted them. But I don't have a pressing need to read this anytime soon, so I think that I'm gonna just not even attempt. And then also The Burden by Mary Westmacott, which is really Agatha Christie. Yikes, guys. I started reading this and was like, I want to continue to love Agatha Christie, so I'm just not gonna read this. And we'll leave it at that. So those three, I'm actually not, like, those aren't actually on my rest of the month TBR. So these are the four remaining mass markets I have that I am going to try to get to this month. So one is the last in that little Molly Harper, Alaska paranormal small town thing. How to Run with a Naked Werewolf. Sounds like light, frivolous fun. I think I'll enjoy that one. This is The Dark Affair by Maire Clairmont, and I heard good things about this from the blog Smart Bitches Trashy Books, which is one that I really enjoy, and the ebook was kind of expensive, so that's why I picked it up for free, basically, at the used bookstore. And yeah, I think it's also a Beauty and the Beast retelling, also a historical, so maybe I'll have better luck with this one than I did with When She Said I Do. This one I've heard is sort of like a little darker in tone, which, yeah, I'm down for. And then I've got another Agatha Christie. I've got the Harlequin tea set and other stories. So these are short stories, which you guys know how I feel about Agatha Christie short stories. I absolutely love them. So yeah, I think that this might be a nice little like palette cleanse from some other things that I've got going on. And then the Highland Dragon Warrior, I picked this up over Christmas break. I'm actually super excited to get to this. I started reading the first couple of pages, and it's interesting. I thought this was going to be like kind of more in the family of this, like just frivolous nonsense. This, I think, actually is closer to being a fantasy romance as opposed to a paranormal romance, and that's not what I was expecting, but I'm down. Like, I've actually heard a lot of really good things about this, that this is a very entertaining book. So yeah, and I don't read a lot of like fantasy romance. I read more like paranormal romance. So I think that this will be sort of like a nice change of pace for that. And then once I get through those, because I think I will. I think I'll get through those. I have a bunch of options for some other things I could be reading. Let's see here. Which of these do I want to show you? Because there's a lot of them. Well, I am very interested in The Denial of Death. You saw this in my last haul. So that might happen. I've been talking so much about Courtney Milan, it reminded me I do have one book left in my Brothers Sinister series from her. This is the final book, and so maybe I'll bite the bullet and actually finish that series. That would make me a little bit sad to do that. But that might happen. Or Sex at Dawn, which is a nonfiction book about like primordial origins of sex. That sounds like fun. To some. I'm sure some people look at some of the things that I want to read and are like, what a geek. You are such a weird geek. But I find that kind of stuff super interesting. Nevernight is a fantasy novel by J. Kristoff that I've heard a lot about. I have it, and it's about, like, I think a girl who goes to assassin school, which sounds like fucking kick-ass. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll be in the mood for that. We'll see. And then two other non-fiction books. One is The Calorie Myth by Jonathan Baylor. Tinfoil Hat Brigade coming up right there. And then finally The Science of the Magical, From the Holy Grail to Love Potions to Superpowers by Matt Kaplan. Essentially like how people used to think certain things that we have scientific explanations for were magical, I think is basically what that book is about. So anyway, I have a lot of options of what I might read. Like I said, I feel like this month is not necessarily... Oh, I didn't talk to you about the audiobooks I listened to. Are any of them worth talking about? Oh, some of them are, but actually, you know what? I'm going to save that for my end of the month wrap up because a couple of them are disappointments and I just want to spend more time talking about why. So the only audiobook I'll mention that I don't think I'll talk about again, is Weapons of Math Destruction by Cathy O'Neill. And I thought that was actually a very interesting book. It was kind of talking about how like big data is now being used by corporations in ways that like perpetuate injustice and perpetuate like certain cycles. I thought that was a very interesting book and an interesting perspective on some kind of like macro trends that we see. It was written in 2016 and she actually alludes to a lot of the Facebook political scandal that we had in the 2016 election, so I thought that was interesting. Anyway, it was an interesting book, so that's the only audiobook worth talking about. But anyway, I say all that, sorry. You're getting the raw, like, me just chatting version, so I'm not going to edit a lot of this out, but the only other thing I wanted to say is that I don't think that this is going to be a super high rating month for me, just because most mass markets I own don't tend to be highly rated things for me. They tend to be much more sort of like ephemeral, just like munch, 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 something to read. I have read a lot though, considering everything that's going on, and that's been kind of nice. It's been a nice like little break in the day. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm reading right now, what I think I might read next. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys are reading right now, if you think anything I'm reading sounds particularly interesting, or if you have any advice against reading any of the things I mentioned that I might read. Just let me know. I always love talking with you guys in the comments. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. Again, I'm glad you guys like this sort of more informal format. I'm going to keep doing a few of these, especially this month, because things are just a little crazy. But in general, you know, I think I'm going to, from now on, probably do a lot of my tag videos this way, and a lot of my, like, what I'm reading right now, or, like, unhaul type things this way. So I'm glad you guys enjoy it, because actually this is sort of, like, it mixes things up a little bit, which I think is all for the good. Oh, that's my lips. Huh. Okay. Well, that's what happens when you have dark lips. See, you guys, it's just very, very raw here today. Anyway, where was I? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. I am a hot mess. I will talk to you guys later. Have a great one. Bye.